Here in New Zealand and Australia, we have this thing called Rail Safety Week in mid-August. Every year during RSW, KiwiRail puts out some sort of safety campaign. Although I am of the opinion that the slogans are often very corny, I realise that KiwiRail are still trying to get this important message out to a more mainstream audience, so I'll be fair and give them credit for that. It's interesting to note that, this year, they've used the railfan/trainspotter community as inspiration for the campaign. I found an article, linked in the description, in which the KiwiRail CEO was quoted as expressing appreciation for us rail fans and our alertness. One has to wonder about the effectiveness of the RSW safety campaigns, since you still occasionally see people run, cycle, or drive through a crossing after the lights and bells have activated, and this begs the question as to why anyone would put themselves at such a risk. Unfortunately, and as this footage indicates, that sort of thing still happens from time to time. Granted, neither of the incidents I caught on camera in July 2026 were fatal, but I would argue that that doesn't excuse people from continuing through a railway crossing after the bells and lights have come on. After all, those warning systems are in place for a good reason. For one thing, the train could always be closer, moving faster, and therefore taking less time to reach the crossing, than how it may look from your perspective. And for another, this is real life, not the Super Class 47 in Train Simulator Classic, so the trains can't stop instantly. And this isn't the horrendous 2D reboot of Thomas the Tank Engine, so the trains can't jump or swerve out of the way to avoid sudden obstacles. I distinctly remember this incident from back in June 2022. Although they were out of shot to my left, two youngsters thought it was a brilliant idea to sprint through the crossing long after it had activated. I don't see for a second how darting through the crossing when a train is that close could be seen as even remotely cool or entertaining. One has to wonder what goes through those people's minds when they do that sort of thing. To put it mildly, getting hit by a train is a very dumb way to die. And yes, that's a reference to an old song from 2012, which was made for a rail safety campaign in Melbourne, Australia, but the song ended up going viral. When you're walking along and approaching a railway crossing, it's always a good idea to look up from your phone if you're using one, and take your headphones off if you're wearing them. Personally speaking, I generally don't wear headphones myself. You should always look both ways when you're crossing a railway line, but only cross at a properly designated crossing, such as this one south of Pairata Station on the North Island main trunk. It's never a good idea to duck across the track at any random spot away from a crossing, not only because you never know when a train will turn up, or which direction the train will come from, but also because trespassing on the railway is dangerous, idiotic, and against the law. Come to think of it, I have a suggestion for KiwiRail, in the unlikely event that anyone who's working for them is watching this video. That being to go round the country and modify as many pedestrian crossings, or footpaths alongside level crossings, as they can to have these same lights on the ground as the crossings near the Windwand in downtown New Plymouth. I dare say those extra lights on the ground would be useful in the Auckland and Wellington suburban areas, or other places where you get lots of foot traffic through railway crossings. Sometimes, you might see these yellow hatched lines on the road at a level crossing, although this kind of environment is not the only place in which you'll find hatched lines. Regardless of where you find them, these lines are there to point out an area in which vehicles are not supposed to stop. And for reference, this particular crossing is in Mount Maunganui, right next to a busy roundabout and all. But unfortunately, I still occasionally see people stopping on the hatched lines, with a significant amount of their vehicles still on the track. It's especially concerning when bus or truck drivers do that sort of thing, since I don't fancy seeing a New Zealand equivalent of the Fox River Grove crash of 1995. I don't normally ask people to share my videos, but I'm making an exception this time in the hope that this video can reach a wide audience and encourage as many people as possible to be safe when they're near a railway line. To quote Operation Lifesaver from the United States, lose a minute, not your life. Even when they're not fatal, these accidents can still have lasting effects on your family and friends, not to mention first responders and the train drivers themselves, for which I have the utmost sympathy. From the perspective of a railfan, I'm sure that the last thing any of us want to catch on camera is a fatality.